is Samson's take. What do we want? Yeah, you and I, all of us. What do we want for Ghana? What do we want in Singapore? This week, President John Mahama has been in Singapore begging for help and for business that brings jobs to Ghanaians. Singapore is a country of only some 6 million people. They have no natural resources. When Nkrumah says resources don't build a country, but brains do, I think he's talking about Singapore. In fact, booted out of Malaysia in the 1960s, the making of fish hooks was seen as a lifeline for the struggling economy. A British businessman made the proposal to Lee Kuan Yew. I read about this years ago and in my Aspen leadership class. He embraced it, however laughable it sounded. Yes, Lee moved Singapore from a basket case of a third world to an industrialized first world. Even his worst critics do not debate this fact. Leadership is everything, you know. Now, it is such a marvel of a city-state, an intentionally built, clean garden city with a GDP of over 500 billion US dollars in nominal terms. You don't need 2 Singapore dollars to buy 1 United States dollars. Ghana is blessed with 35 million people on a land size over 300 times larger than Singapore's. It is natural resource rich. Yes, we have oil, bauxite, manganese, iron ore, timber, you name them. It is a leader in gold and cocoa production, yet its GDP is a miserly 85 billion US dollars. Even our capital city, Accra, is dirty, littered with filth at every turn. Though it has laws against littering and actually spends millions each year in the name of sanitation. A World Bank official once asked me, rhetorically of course, if sanitation is a euphemism for corruption in this town. There are neither jobs nor decent housing for millions of people. Only a fraction of the 13 million or so energetic youth are employed, with over 60% of them in informal, vulnerable, unstable employment. They are robbed of basic needs by years of bad leadership, greedy and democracy destabilizing corrupt office holders. Sadly, the thieving few mobilize the hungry, jobless youth as an army for backward behavior that holds this country back. I know some of you are tired of my corruption statistics I share regularly. But just look at the Auditor General's report for the last 4 years alone. That's a staggering nearly 80 billion Ghana cedis stolen or misused by public officials. They won't be made to pay and they won't go to jail. The Auditor General will not be cited for high crime, which attract 10 years in jail, for disobeying the orders of the Supreme Court to issue surcharges and disallowances against these thieves. He has a fresh auditor's report indicting former National Service Authority boards of pocketing over 8 million cedis. What he corruptly received each month, according to the Fourth Estate, could pay the allowances of over 700 service personnel. I suppose Those party people defending him even before they could read the auditor's report include persons he has denied of service because of his conduct. You think what has been discovered at the National Service is new and it will end today? Not with our present conduct. 2 weeks ago, when I signed off on this show, I headed to the airport to commence an 18-hour-long journey to Singapore. I was visiting law firms, the Supreme Court, their famed International Arbitration Center, and interacting with business owners. I shut myself out of the unproductive noise back at home, soaking in the marvel of Singapore when my wife and a colleague lawyer on the trip drew my attention to a development here. People once again besieged the EOCO offices because musician Charles Niyama Mensah Shatawale was detained in ongoing criminal investigations. When politician and broadcaster Paul Adomochre got into a similar situation at the OSP, the NPP was loud, as has become normal. By the Constitution, the police and such other law enforcement agencies can hold a person arrested, restricted, or detained for about 48 hours. That's 2 days. Of course, on reasonable suspicion of criminal conduct. So what is this lawless conduct in massing up at their premises to demand the release of influential suspects detained for only a few hours or just a day? What do we want? What country are we building? The politicians who encourage and lead this lawless conduct, what do you want for Ghana? People hide under parties, issue outright criminal threats of harm and of death on social media. Some engage in violence, and they do things that are punishable by law. But when the police pick them up, your first reaction is blind support for them against the police. Investigators spend time on a case. When they arrest your people, you repeat this template. You give the suspects the benefit of the doubt, but you are not ready to give those who spend time investigating these people the slightest opportunity of the benefit of the doubt. Shame on you. In Singapore, a minister was recently jailed for accepting flight tickets gifts from a property billionaire who would also plead guilty for abetting crime and obstructing justice. The former transport minister quickly resigned when the issue came up. His party did not mass up at offices of prosecutors or the courts. I'm sure you know prosecution of corruption is very swift in Singapore. I ask again, what do we want? What do we want for Ghana? Ghana will be what? 70 years very soon? Third world to first world in 30 years. That's what Singapore did. And that is my take.